So I'm going to go through just some general advice on being a successful photographer and photojournalist. And some of these kind of bleed into just being a good journalist in general. So one thing to always keep in mind is to always avoid making assumptions. So many times photographers will also write their captions, and you know what they say about people who assume, right? The same goes for writing captions. These assumptions could be on the part of the journalist or the photographer or even someone else at the publication where everything is being put together. So don't make assumptions about what is going on in the photo or who the people are, or assume that your audience knows who's on the left and who's on the right. So for this caption, even though he's incredibly recognizable, the caption still states U.S. President Barack Obama, who's on the right, with Chinese President, etc. Just to not make assumptions that whoever is looking at this picture knows who these people are. And this also goes for style and format. If you aren't sure if the publication has a specific format for captions, make sure you ask. Don't use a format you like that you may need to be completely revised later because you didn't ask. So all publications especially have their own format and their own kind of formula for writing captions, as well as credits too. Remember that what you print is considered fact. So as a journalist, whatever you print, either is your story or caption, is usually considered fact by your readers. They rightfully assume you've done your fact checking and that what you're telling them is accurate. If you were lazy or sloppy to do the job, you risk passing along incorrect information to a very large group of people. Also remember that once information gets out there, it can be hard to correct, especially if that information is related to an event that was tragic, stressful, or still ongoing. So especially in captions, stating someone's, they had the wrong relationship or the wrong name, or maybe you misrepresented the story by your camera angle or perspective or that kind of thing. Just remember that good journalism has always been founded on fact and not opinion or not your own perspective of the story. The photo and the caption should complement each other. Together they should tell the story. They should avoid repeating each other. A caption should help explain the what, when, and where. But the photo should provoke an emotional reaction. Not always. It doesn't always have to be an emotional reaction, but some sort of, image. You want the story, you want your image to tell the story in a different way. It doesn't need to be like super direct. So if you read this caption versus looking at this photo, you're going to have a different experience. The newspaper industry calls captions cut lines. So if you ever hear that word, the cut line is referring to the sentence here at the bottom. National Geographic photo captions are great examples of photojournalism captions. National Geographic is famous for its photos, but most photos in the magazine also include a story. However, most readers tend to look at the photo first, read the caption, look at the photo a second time, and then decide if they're going to read the story. A good caption should allow the reader to make that leap between simply looking at the photos to actually reading the story. So the photo of your story is kind of like the book cover of your story. You want people to look at, what they're about to read and feel engaged or compelled to know what's happening. As a photographer, you should carry a notebook and a pen and pencil with you to events when you're taking photos. Use time in between photos or while waiting for a specific subject to write down the names of the people in your photographs with the proper spelling. So always make sure that is correct. When writing captions, think about captions you've read that have confused you. For example, some news organizations may use stock photos in a story because they don't have an actual photo of the event. While this is fine, the fact is that a stock photo is not the real thing, should be emphasized. So if you are using a stock photo of, say, there's a story about opioids and it's a stock photo of a pill, you might want to consider, just being very direct about what that photo actually is. It's not the actual pill that is in the story, whatever it might be. Assembling a portfolio is essential for every type of photographer. It's very important. But when you're going into news photography or photojournalism, showcasing a variety of images that highlight your versatility is very crucial these days. There's not really a such thing as a photojournalist that only does sports, or it's just not as common these days, or only does a specific subject. So showcasing various types of photos, different events, different stories is really important. Environmental portraits, so include pictures of people in their natural habitat, whether it's a busy bank counter, a serene bench, a crowded factory, or the middle of a muddy farm field. Although these kinds of portraits don't require a Muslim backdrop, they are posed and visually tell a story about their subjects. So here in this example, this is a great photo because the photographer didn't, take a picture of this guy, just out on the street on a bench or something. He wanted to, or she wanted to take this picture of him in his apron where he works, with the menu behind it. Makes it very clear what kind of environment this guy is normally in. Spot news photos. So show off your good judgment and skill for shooting quickly changing news events. These images might focus on a house fire, a car accident, like this one, which is pretty crazy. I don't know how that car got up there. Rising floodwaters, or a hostage standoff. These shots should elicit emotion from the viewer, but be respectful to the people and their families involved in these news events. So, it depends on spot news photos. It depends on what's really going on, and most photojournalists will find an etiquette to how to approach traumatic situations, especially if there's something really tragic happening. So just be mindful and respectful of others while you're shooting. A lot of photojournalists sometimes even get fired over being disrespectful to the people involved, what the story is about. So as opposed to, Princess Diana days where it was, it was like a good thing, or as a prideful thing to get in people's faces. And there are still photographers that do that, but generally it's just something you see in the movies. It's not really respectable photographers do not do that. They wouldn't, like, the worst thing that you could call an experienced photojournalist is paparazzi. Don't ever say that word. I had a friend say that word to someone who was working for AP, and they were very offended. So don't do that. Feature news photos. So for most news publications, these are there's some breeds here. These are the bread and butter shots. Unposed feature news photos are ideally presented as a short photo essay of 3 to 5 images showing off a close-up, a mid-range, and a wide-range view of one event. So I'll talk about this a lot. It's really important for an event or a story to have different perspectives, including a close-up. So maybe in this situation, maybe a close-up of the horse or the jockey or the person, betting on the horse, or whatever the story is, whoever it's about. Having a close-up, intimate view of what's going on, as well as a mid-range, and a medium shot. And in this image, this is a wide-angle view, so you can see how many people are there and what the event is, which is obviously horse racing. This image is taken with very almost fish eye lens, so you can see quite a bit. For example, a story about a farmer offering free hay rides and pumpkin picking to local children makes a great seasonal story. So for your Halloween story, you might want to consider, maybe a different perspective rather than just like people dressing up and having a party or going trick-or-treating, but maybe a story about the people who grow those pumpkins. Include a wide-angle picture showing the autumn landscape, dotted with children and pumpkins. A wide-range picture of an adult riding with a small, smiling child on a hayride, for instance. And then finish the series with a close-up of tiny fingers wrapped around fresh-picked miniature pumpkins. So you want to have like kind of all perspectives, a picture where you can see it all, a picture where you can see, a few things, and then a very intimate close-up. Sports action shots. Every newspaper has a sports section, whether it's local or regional or national news, whether it covers local high school athletes or professional teams. Pick your best hard-hitting action shots to include in your portfolio. It doesn't matter, how fancy the athlete is, as long as it's, a really powerful photo. So each photo should show the ball, a jersey number, so a cut line to identify the athlete can be written if they don't have that, like in this example, and an emotion. So pictures that make you say, ouch, or wow, or how did he do that, are the perfect choices. For example, this, you can't even see the beach underneath. This athlete, all you can see is water, and then they're flying in the air. So, it gives kind of that wow factor for sports. Sports portraits. In addition to action shots, newspapers need portraits of athletes who win awards or take new positions. Although this is an environmental portrait of sorts, you need to clearly highlight the sports connection. So sideline shots of an athlete high-fiving the coach just is not appropriate for an actual sports portrait. Instead, this is more of like a formal pose. Pose the athlete on the sports field or court in a clean uniform, and possibly even use some portable lighting like in this example. So in this image, the light is shining on the athlete where the background is kind of faded. So it really shows, really identifies what you're trying to take a picture of. And then these photographs, when you're doing portraits, it's really great to have something like this where you have quite a bit of negative space here on the left of the basketball player, and then also a closer, more headshot type photo. And this is really helpful for designing because those designers can take this photo and place some text here on the left or put something around him. There's a little more flexibility. Still life images, although not as exciting as sports or, those quick news shots like the car crash, you should include still life photos in your portfolio too. So these are obviously can be done anytime. The food, living, and entertainment sections use these type of images all of the time, and an artfully styled basket of yarn or crochet hooks, tray of colorful vegetables, or a pile of camping gear will show off your ability to work with the concept. So a lot of times stories are a bit more abstract, or, they're talking about some sort of, maybe there's a section for recipes, that kind of thing, and that's really helpful for when you just need some filler images. Something uncommon. So include things in your portfolio that are possibly, something that whoever's looking at your photos has never seen before. This is not necessarily a great, I don't know why I choose this image, but it's not necessarily a great uncommon image, but you might want to show off, if you're really into technique, show off something like this that really shows off what you can do with your camera in your ability to use it, or you can show off a story that, maybe no one's ever heard of before. Maybe something really close to you, or a family that you know really well that's been through a really unique situation. Every photojournalism portfolio should include something unexpected. So give who's looking at your portfolio, give them something really interesting to look at, because a lot of times they have seen a lot of images and you don't want to bore them. So before reaching for a photo from art class, remember that you're showing your work to media professionals. Show off a favorite photography technique or creative use of lighting. For example, a portrait created in an unexpected location, like a hot air balloon basket or a shot with an ultra-wide 12mm lens shows off your creativity and your adventuresome nature. So there are a few things that NPPA recommends. This is a great organization if you want to be a part of it. I'll talk about it in a second. But they have a few things that they like to see in photojournalism portfolios. First, number one is be original. There's nothing worse than having a portfolio that looks like every other portfolio. Like I said, you want to be remembered. You want to leave an impression. So while it is useful to study other portfolios and websites, imitation is not the sincerest form of flattery in the photojournalism world or journalism world. Show some creativity in your thought processes and reflect it in your work. Content is king. And queen. Your portfolio is your calling card. It represents what is most important to you. Play to your strengths. Your portfolio is a sales pitch. Make sure the product you're selling is quality work that you stand behind. No one wants to buy an inferior product. Edit. So there's an old saying, says your portfolio is only as good as your weakest picture. So edit those pictures. I'm not talking about photoshopping. Edit your portfolio down to, if it has to come down to only 20 images, like edit it down to your best 20 images. Editing is critical. So be objective. Don't get too emotionally attached to your work. Learn to kill all of those early pictures where you're exploring. And if you think a picture is weak, it probably is. So lead with your best work. Show your favorite picture first, your most unique, most impressive work first. And then get other opinions on that as well. So quality. So do not include any out of focus. Do not include any underexposed, overexposed, any kind of blurry pictures. Do not include those. Make sure your prints or digital images are the highest quality possible. So in some of the pictures that I show, you'll see photographers that have blurry work in there, and they have won awards and have written books, and they are allowed to have blurry stuff in their portfolio, but you are not. So it must be well organized, cleanly designed, and present in a way that's consistent with work and ethics. Include some personal stuff in there, a story or a personal project that will tell the reviewer a lot about you and your capabilities. Single images are fine, but they give no indication of how you approached your assignment. So include a story showing a reviewer you understand and can execute visual storytelling. So ask yourself, does your story have a beginning, a middle, and an end? Did you vary your perspectives? Did you shoot tight as well as wide? Did your pictures take the viewer on a journey? So, just including like some sort of photo essay among all of your, diverse pictures is a really good idea. Portraits, the one thing that all media outlets need is a good portraiture. So there's always a need for news, sports, business, lifestyle portraits. If you have a cohesive collection of portraits, you will get work. Clips include PDFs of your published work, either at the end of your portfolio or as handouts. Editors and art buyers keep them as reference if your work is similar to a type of photography they publish. So create a PDF book. Keep it simple. It doesn't have to be an EPUB or anything fancy. This is something I don't really have a lot of opinions on, but NPPA has included this. Have a good variety of promo cards which highlight your best work, list your name, website, phone numbers, email address on those promo cards. They're talking about business cards, by the way. Also include your location. Don't expect the reviewer to translate your area code to figure out where you are based. A resume is something you might want to have handy as well, either digitally or on paper. So I take that back. I have had some promo cards where I've had my pictures printed on them, and then, nice clean, like my name, phone number, email address, website, that kind of thing. And then you want to have, these days, if you can swing it, have the option of print and digital. Having a book of your work is really impressive these days because a lot of people don't do that anymore. You can do books on places like blurb.com, or even iPhoto does some really nice books. It's not one or the other anymore. Having both is really helpful. So you might have a really old an editor that's just really into the old school way of doing things, and he or she would probably appreciate a more physical item to look at. Design your website in a similar style as your portfolio. Your print portfolio. You don't want it to look totally different. Large single image homepages are very effective. So some of those layouts where the images are really, really large, full screen, is really powerful for a photojournalism website. And do not over design. The cleaner the website, the stronger impact, because you want the photos to be front and center, not the design of your website. Create easily navigable links to your galleries, published work, and contact information. Make it really easy to navigate. Avoid slideshows that don't allow the viewer to control them. So if they just want to flip through the slideshow, it's good to have like a button to do that. And keep your work current. Update your portfolio regularly. Add new work as you finish new assignments. Keep your images fresh, current, and topical. Remove older images and clips, as they will make your portfolio look dated. So if you have some old images of, COVID-19 stuff, some of the images will be really obvious when the date about when they were taken. So if you have some really obvious old images on your website, it's not a good sign for people looking at portfolios. And not only that, but the more you update your website, the more search engine traffic you will get. So the web recognizes when things are updated frequently, and you will get more, organic searches that way. And just some final thoughts. Do your homework, study the publication you're submitting your portfolio to, so know what kind of images they normally publish, either digitally or in print, and or on social media. Make sure it's consistent with what they publish. You kind of want to, maybe you might want to edit your portfolio based on where you're sending your portfolio to. So if you know that you want to work for someone that covers a lot of the Kentucky Derby stuff, for example, you might want to have more animal photos, or athletes, or sports, or more action shots kind of thing, to show them that you have experience in that area. The closer it is to what they publish, the better your chances of being assigned. So just closing with NPPA, it is this lady here. I met her at a photojournalism conference. They are National Press Photographers Association. She's actually a believer, and I'm not sure if she's still the president, but she this organization will help with ensuring if you're in a location you get your camera stolen, or she mentioned a story where someone was in a bad situation in I think another country, and NPPA sent a specific lawyer, like a lawyer that specialized in taking care of photographers, and sent him over wherever he was, and got him out of a bad situation with someone. I can't remember exactly what it was, and got his equipment back, got his photos back, kind of thing. And then also you get a pass to certain things. So here's a list of some things that might be helpful and something you might want to look into, as well as a network of photojournalists that you might want to know what conferences they're going to and what kind of events they are a part of.